What's happening, family? Tino Blaine King here. I've got another dose of Talk Black 360 to bring to you. Today's topic is going to be Black Agenda Trump's impeachment. But what I want you to understand about this topic is there's nothing that they're going to be able to do to Donald Trump. Impeach him or not impeach him. What you're going to learn today is Unitarian executive theory. And what this is going to show you is how Trump is going to be able to walk out of the White House, tell Congress and the judiciary branch to kiss his ass. Uhuru na nguvu.
No. You're looking at a free black man.
Talk Black 360.
You want to know what a free black man look like? Look at me.
Uhuru na nguvu. Welcome to another dose of Talk Black 360. I am your host, Tino Blaine King, the Kool-Aid and Kush, the pioneer of black pragmatism. I've got a great show for you today. As I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about our black agenda and Trump's impeachment. If you put it all together, it sounds like black agenda, Trump's impeachment. Hey, look, should we be concerned about impeachment? If he gets impeached, if he doesn't get impeached, really doesn't bother us. But I think we should always have a working knowledge of the things that surround us, and impeachment is definitely surrounding us. So let's take a look at this, because right now we're talking about impeachment, and a lot of us have forgotten how we got into this situation. So remember, a couple years ago, we were talking about crooked Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump was the new guy on the scene. And to be honest with you, he was somebody who was kind of revered in the black community, especially in the hip hop community. But something happened along the way, and we got involved in partisan politics. Now, is he racist? Is he not racist? I don't really care. For all intent and purposes, the entire system is racist. And then whether you're black, white, Asian, it doesn't make a difference. When you go into this system and you swear into the Constitution, then what you have done is you've taken part in a system of white supremacy that is never going to be equitable for black people. So having said that, let's think about the scope. Let's think about how we got started. So I know a lot of you have forgotten, so I'm going to bring you back. But the first thing I want you to keep in mind is all of these parties, Democrat, Republican, they're all eating at the same trough. They're all getting money from the same corporations, these big financial corporations, and these large multinational companies that fund the Democrats and the Republicans, and these two groups fight back and forth for that money. And when you think about that, then you begin to understand the type of situation that we're in when we're dealing with America's government. So let's go back for a second. First thing I want to do is I want to take you to the introduction of Donald Trump and when he came on the scene. And this is what I'm going to tell you is one of the reasons why he's actually dealing with impeachment proceedings right now. Take a look.
It is indeed time to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. If I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. They've been talking about that for years. Decades of failure in Washington and decades of special interest dealing must and will come to an end.
Okay, so that was the start of it. Donald Trump is running for office, and he's saying that he's going to drain the swamp. On top of saying he's going to drain the swamp, remember all of these people in Congress and in the Senate, they're fighting for power, and power means money. They're also going to enrich themselves while they're in these offices. And not only did he say he's going to drain the swamp of all of his corruption, he's going to impose term limits on these politicians. That is not a popular thing in Washington, D.C. However, let's keep looking at this so we can break it all down. Now, Hillary Clinton also was on the stage at that time. Take a look.
Well, my personal emails are my personal business. right? So we went through a painstaking process and turned over 55,000 pages of anything we thought could be work-related. Under the law, that decision is made by the official. I was the official. I made those decisions.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the surface?
What, like with a cloth or something? Well, no.
Wipe it clean. What do you mean, with a cloth or something? Come on. All right. Why? So, okay, Tino, why are you talking about Hillary Clinton? We're talking about Donald Trump's impeachment. Don't worry. I'm going to put it all together for you. But let's talk about, she was scrubbing emails and servers and all of that stuff, right? So why was she doing it? And they found a bunch of her emails that she got rid of. But let me just throw one out there for you so you can get some idea of why she was doing it. Take a look.
The emails also show that Clinton agreed to go to Morocco in exchange for a $12 million donation to the Clinton Global Initiative. Now, Clinton herself wasn't Secretary of State at this time. There's no reason to believe that there was a quid pro quo in which she promised to do a government favor in exchange for something that the Moroccan government wanted. But it does, again, add to this idea that Clinton was more likely to meet with people who gave lots of money to her husband's private charity.
All right. So in that particular video, you get some of the reason why there would be some corruption involved. And we're talking about quid pro quo. Look, it's complex, but it's real simple if you just step back and take a look at it. Politicians go into office to get rich. They hide money inside of nonprofit organizations. They get money from foreign governments. It's all a part of the big scheme. We need to build a black agenda. But let's keep going. So Donald Trump is talking about draining the swamp. He's talking about throwing term limits on some of the Congress and the Senate, and then he's this wild card that comes into politics, and he's pretty much ungovernable. He just says whatever comes to mind. He's kind of aloof in his presentation, and what you see with Donald Trump is what you get. And this is what happened in one of the exchanges during the debate time when him and Hillary Clinton was on stage. Take a look.
Be apologizing for are the 33,000 emails that you deleted and that you acid washed, and then the 2 boxes of emails and other things last week that were taken from an office and are now missing. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it, and I hate to say it. But if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation.
So I expect we'll have millions more fact-checking because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Man, and that dude is crazy. He said because you'd be in jail. Donald Trump is a certified lunatic, right? So that was one of the debates, and as you can see, he's just attacking everybody, and he's continued to do it, and they are afraid of Donald Trump because he says whatever comes to mind. And that's dangerous. It's a very, very dangerous trait, especially for a politician who has to guard their words very carefully. Like Obama. Obama was a completely different type of person. He guarded his words. He was very articulate. And in many cases, he could answer a question in a way that he never really answered the question. Trump is going to give it to you. He doesn't do a lot of beating around the bush. And like I said, that's dangerous. So what have we proven? Look, Hillary's crooked. Trump, crooked. I mean, you know, he's in this thing to enrich himself and build his brand. The Trump brand was global before the presidency. The Trump brand is going to be even more global after his presidency. But, who are we going to exempt from the corruption? I don't think anybody. So right now that we're talking about impeaching Trump, what he's throwing into the mix is Joe Biden. So Joe Biden's son, I'm sure you've heard, Hunter Biden, is someone who's gotten a contract to sit on the board of this foreign company, which I think they said he'd taken over $1 million in payments from this particular company in the Ukraine. And I just want to say, look, it's nepotism. It's what these politicians get into office for. So Hillary's guilty, Biden's guilty, Trump's guilty, and they're all just playing the game. But let's take a look at this quick clip about Hunter Biden. Take a look.
You didn't have any extensive knowledge about natural gas or Ukraine itself, though.
No, but I think that I had as much knowledge as anybody else that was on the board.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
Look, if that's not nepotism, I don't know what is. And what I'm about to tell you is no one in this political game is exempt from corruption. But here's what's interesting. Remember, you've got Trump that is going in and he's just wrecking shop. He's a bull in a china shop. But this guy is definitely not as dumb as a lot of people want to make him out to be. This is a very, very intelligent guy. And yes, he does operate mafia-like. So he's got Rudy Giuliani, his personal attorney, going into foreign countries and doing the things that he knows he would be reprimanded for if he did it himself. And they know what they're doing. And you know, the Republicans try to make some kind of a deal out of this as if you know, there is an argument to be made. It's all crooked. Period. It's crooked. Giuliani is over there, but neither of these men are to be taken lightly. Very intelligent men inside of this white supremacist system. So I want you to take a look at this next clip and listen very closely to what Giuliani says.
I asked them to investigate the allegations that relate to the false charges against the President of the United States. Those allegations tangentially involve Biden.
So your
getting
answer
the,
should have
let
been
me
yes.
finish.
Did the president talk to the Ukrainian president about what he wanted done with Joe Biden and what he wanted done with Paul Manafort?
I have no idea. I never asked him that. I don't know if he did, and I wouldn't care if he did. He had every right to do it as the President of the United States. He had every right to say to the Ukrainian president, we have two outstanding allegations of massive corruption. And
did he ask you to do what you were doing?
No, I did what I did on my own, and then
Really?
I told him about it afterwards because I'm his lawyer and I know how to investigate.
So you never talked to him about it before, you only talked to him about it after?
3 months after I found out about it, and then I found out that it was true by getting signed, sworn statements from 5 people in the Ukraine who said that we were brought into the White House, the Obama White House, and we were told, go dig up dirt on Trump and Manafort in January of 2016. You have no idea how big this is.
All right. So there you go. The implications out there. And I'm going to get to it. I'm going to tell you exactly my theory on what's going on here. And it's going to shock you. However, I want you to understand something. Remember, the perception has to be there. And you've got a guy like Trump who knows how to get down and dirty. And he knows how weak this system really is. And he is taking advantage of it. As a side note, I want you to see what happens because you've got a bunch of people that have sworn an oath to the Constitution. They're in political offices. They don't know how these political offices work because they're trying to govern according to this mundane piece of legislation called the Constitution. And it is thick and it is changing and it is contradictory. And with the right nudging, you scratch the surface and you see how ill-informed and childlike most of these politicians really are. But take a look at this, and it'll give you some indication from the impeachment hearings. Take a look.
We will now hear presentations.
Mr. Chairman, I appeal the decision of the chair.
There's no decision to appeal.
You can't then not allow us to appeal the ruling of the chair.
The gentleman will suspend.
Is this when we just hear staff ask questions of other staff and the members get dealt out of this whole hearing? And for the next 4 hours, you're going to try to overturn the result of an election with unelected people giving testimony?
Gentleman will suspend.
He's talking about the motives and the character of the President of the United States.
Gentleman will suspend.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
That is not a ruling. Gentleman will suspend.
Will you let him finish his point of order, please?
Made his point of order.
No, Mr. Chairman, I haven't completed yet. My point of order is that you were out of order in your ruling.
The point of order is not sustained.
Chairman,
Gentleman is not recognized. We will now hear presentations of evidence.
I have a parliamentary inquiry.
I haven't removed my objection.
I've not
Barry
removed my
Burke will
objection
present.
yet.
Mr. Chairman, you do realize I've never withdrawn my
Gentleman will suspend.
I've not withdrawn my objection.
Gentleman will suspend and not make a speech. Motion table is not in debate.
Oh, this is so they can have a press conference before Mr.
Gentlemen
Castro gets the chance to offer rebuttal. Nobody asked for this break,
Gentleman
Mr.
will suspend.
How long's the recess?
Well, the gentleman will suspend.
I'd just like to know how long.
The gentleman will suspend.
It's until they're done with their press conference.
Gentleman will suspend.
All right, so there you go. When you see these bumbling idiots in action, you realize when you've got somebody that is as willing to challenge the system as Trump, with somebody like Giuliani on his side, a guy who's taking on the mob, and Trump, a guy who's probably as tied in with the mob as any American businessman a businessman has ever been. You've got this type of a force that is willing to challenge this democracy. We've got issues. We've got issues. And what I'm saying is when this thing falls apart, we better have our agenda together. All right, so look, next thing I want to do is I want to take you to the third part of this Trump travesty that's taking place, because he's putting the right people in place to make his argument. So the Attorney General William Barr is starting to stage the argument that they're going to make after this impeachment proceeding takes place. So take a look.
The greatest danger to our free system is that the incumbent government use the apparatus of the state, principally the law enforcement agencies and the intelligence agencies, both to spy on political opponents, but also to use them in a way that could affect the outcome of the election. As far as I'm aware, this is the first time in history that this has been done to a presidential campaign, the use of these counterintelligence techniques against a presidential campaign. And we have to remember that in today's world, presidential campaigns are frequently in contact with foreign persons. And indeed, in most campaigns, there are signs of illegal foreign money coming in. And we don't automatically assume that the campaigns are nefarious and traitors and acting in league with foreign power.
All right, so more information that is clearly stating the transfer of monies from foreign governments and all of this stuff that they're claiming is supposed to be this odd thing that's taking place because Trump has withheld government monies from a foreign country, an allied foreign country. All of this facade is being painted by Trump's adversaries. But as you can see, if you look at the pieces, he and his team is building up their defense and they're getting ready to strike back. So now that I've laid that out for you, let's talk about, how serious or not serious this impeachment really is. Because by Trump being willing to push back against the government, what you're starting to see is the true structure of the government begin to break down. Now, here's something that you probably haven't heard before, but I want to break this to you. The Constitution is a document that is ever changing, and it evolves according to the behaviors of the society that it's governing. Pretty interesting concept. But one of the things that you would have to understand is that the branches of government in time are also evolving. And one of the branches of government that's evolving is the executive branch. So let me build this up for you. Take a look at this.
The president has informal powers in foreign policy, too. Formally, the Constitution says the president has the power to make treaties, receive foreign ambassadors, and appoint ambassadors and ministers. The president has developed the power to negotiate executive agreements, which are nowhere in the Constitution. Executive agreements are, well, they're agreements between the U.S. and foreign nations that look like treaties but aren't formally treaties.
Okay, what I wanted you to get out of that clip was the commentator said, the president has developed the power. That shows the advancement of the office. He's developed the power, but it's not in the Constitution, and it's an accepted power. Now, as far as impeachment goes, and I'm wrapping up, but as far as impeachment goes, this thing is as insignificant as anything else that we're ever going to talk about. The reality is, as the executive office develops, then there's something that no one is talking about. And this is held inside of the executive office. It's a theory that some constitutional scholars have, and it's called Unitarian executive theory. Now, the Unitarian executive theory kind of piggybacks on what Trump has often said. And the way that they've portrayed him to believe the things that he said, which is, I can do whatever I want. I'm the president. Now, if he says something like that and he means it and he acts on it all collectively, then the system will start to crumble, because then you'll have things that'll happen in government that's never happened before. But in the back of his mind, in the back of Rudy Giuliani's mind, and in the back of William Barr's mind, I think they're holding, they're holding this card close to the chest because they understand that it can be played. So the last thing that I want you to pay attention to is this concept of Unitarian executive theory. Take a look.
The vesting clause of Article 2 provides, the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. Proponents of the unitary executive theory argue that this language, along with the take care clause, the President shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, creates a hierarchical, unified executive department under the direct control of the President. The general principle that the President controls the entire executive branch was originally rather innocuous, but extreme forms of the theory have developed. John Dean explains, in its most extreme form, unitary executive theory can mean that neither Congress nor the federal courts can tell the President what to do or how to do it, particularly regarding national security matters. According to law professors Lawrence Lessig and Cass Sunstein, no one denies that in some sense the framers created a unitary executive.
All right, that was it. If you listen to the definition or the explanation of Unitarian executive theory, it basically says that neither Congress or the judiciary can tell the president what to do, especially when it comes to national security. Now, also in the Constitution, national security is deemed by the executive branch. So the president can also say that this is a matter of national security. I'm behaving in the way that I'm supposed to behave, and there's nothing that you can do about it. No one's talking about that. So at the end of the day, when you see this, you understand why when we look at impeachments of presidents, If we go to Andrew Johnson, Nixon, Bill Clinton, and now Donald Trump, there is no president that has ever been removed from office. Now, the concept of impeachment is a political concept and process. It is not a legal one. Even if they were to impeach the president, and they most likely will, there's nothing that they can do to him. He is above the law, and they continue to say that he is not above the law. However, there's theoretical information that supports the concept. He just has to be willing to work in the gray area enough to make it so. And I think you definitely have a president that's willing to do that. So, having said and understood that, this is what is very important about this podcast. Whatever the outcome of this impeachment is, even if the president is removed from office, we still have an obligation to ourselves, to our children and our children's children, to do something that is going to be in the benefit of our people. We have to develop a black agenda. We have to develop a black agenda locally. We have to develop a black agenda statewide, and we need a national black agenda. When we have that, and we've set ourselves up to be a player on this global battlefield for power, then we should begin to move globally. We should begin to set things up in our interests that are going to secure our future. We are different than every other documented or undocumented American. We are different. We have a different history. We've come here, and there's an inequality that can never be repaired. Not even reparations is going to change what has been done to black people in America. So what we need to do is begin to look out for our own interests. This impeachment process is one of the things that the only reason we need to pay any attention to it is because it is just signs of the fall of Babylon. And when it falls, where will we be? And that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Comment below. I hope you disagree with me, because in your disagreement, we're going to have a conversation that other people are going to be able to take a look at, and we'll start to think outside of the box. And that is what is in our best interest, that we begin to think outside of the box. If we're going to challenge this thing called white supremacy, we've got to forget everything that we think we know, start from scratch, and start to rebuild. So until the next time, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Remember, comment below. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button or the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and please, whatever you do, stay strong and stay black. Ashe? This has been another dose of Talk Black 360.
No, no, no. You will never be enslaved again by no man.